Okay, shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, Vanishri.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's great that all the participants came with the same reinvigorated energy. And again, we wish you a Merry Christmas to you all. Hope all the participants have gained commodious knowledge on the topic ardent astutedness, that is emotional intelligence at workplace, deliberated by Dr. B. Usha, former Dean and HOD of SNH Department, Sri Venkateswara Vedic University, Tirupati. Often we hear the words like, you have lack of commitment, you have to change your attitude, you don't have time since. Sometimes we hear these words from our parents, partners, relatives, higher authorities, colleagues, or friends. These words destroy our progress, our potentiality, kills motivation, distress, and so on. This can happen if we don't set our goals. If we don't set them, we're likely to miss our success. Our goals focuses on our acquisition of knowledge and helps us to organize our time and our resources so that we can make the most of our life. So today our resource person Dr. K. Sunita Reddy, Professor and HOD of Science and Humanities Department, Sri Venkateswara Engineering College, Tirupati, will guide us on how we have to set and create our goals, which is a roadmap for success and can make our life more interesting, zest, motivated, energetic, alive, and also to lead a comfortable, happy, and healthy life. She is going to deliberate on the topic reason data regulation, that is goal setting. But before going to that, let me take a privilege to introduce our today's resource person. Dr. K. Sunita Reddy, currently working as a professor and HOD of Sciences and Humanities Department in SV Engineering College, Tirupati. She did her PhD in English Literature in SV University, Tirupati. She is working as a professor with proven career track of many positive academic outcomes and organizational amendments. She has more than 20 years of experience in guiding and directing engineering graduates in acquiring communication skills and soft skills. She is associated with many professional and academic bodies. She is a member of Board of Studies for three reputed colleges such as AITS, NBKRIST, and RGM-CET. She took many soft skill sessions to undergraduates in liaison with placements in JKC and also in many abroad countries like UK, Australia, and so on. She is selected as a master trainer by British Council and successfully accomplished English Communication Skills project for faculty and students. She is nominated as a nodal officer for APSHE British Council Communication Skills project in the year 2017 and 18. She chaired many sessions and also delivered many lectures as a resource person and keynote speaker in many national and international conferences, workshops, and seminars. She obtained JNTUA and as well as Krishna University recognition as research guide for MPhil and PhD program. Under her able guidance, 12 scholars got MPhil and 4 scholars awarded with doctorate. She is instrumental in setting up different clubs such as E Plus Club, English Club, Science Club, Mathematics Club, and so on. She has implemented and developed several communication strategies in the Communication Skills Lab for many colleges. During pandemic, she gave many lectures as a resource person to the students, faculty, and also corporate sectors. She received many awards for her superlative efforts towards the reach of education, such as the Best Teacher Award. She got consecutively for 5 years in appreciation for her service rendered for the institution and students, and also the Best Women Award. So we welcome you, madam. We are eager to listen your words.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, all, and a happy Christmas and Vaikunta Ekadasi also. And thank you, Vanishri, for that elaborate introduction. Okay. Plethora of exemplary resource persons for the past 5 days, sharing their knowledge on different aspects and lot of insights. Wow, a good experience, isn't it? I was allotted today on a holiday and that too afternoon, but definitely it would be an interesting session, which would be worth remembering and a few takeaways. To start with the topic that I would deal for this session, it's about goal setting. Goal setting is everywhere in our world. We set goals for our career, our health, and also our lives in general. It seems modern society is always encouraging us to think about the next milestone. However, what we don't think about is the science and strategy of how to accomplish our goals. Experts define goal setting as an act of selecting a target or objective you wish to achieve. Fair enough, that definition makes a sense. But I think there is a much more useful way to think about setting goals. I have an interesting video for you, and I request my friend Vanishri to play that. Vanishri?
One second, ma'am. Ma'am, is it audible?
Yeah,
Yeah, one second. Sorry. Hello, ma'am. Hello, Sunita, ma'am.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, that's fine. So that was an interesting video, right? And Vanishi, can you go with the second slide?
Yeah.
Second one. Yeah, now look at the slide. Uh, to read with, it's when you focus on the problem, you lose the goal. And when you focus on the goal, you lose the problem. So we shall do an activity on this. So I would like you all to sit comfortably in your place. Now lift your hand near to your face. So it's like this. Lift your hand near to your face. And split your fingers like this as I have done. Hope you all have done this. Now what do you see? Now look at the lines in your hand. So how many lines or what you call as rekas do you have? Look at the fingers. How long are each one of them or how short are they? Now what is the color of your hand? So you're looking at the lines or the rekas that you have in your hand. Now keep your hands in the same position. Now look at the screen. Look at me. Don't look at your hands. Look at me. Now you must tell whether you are able to see your hand or the rekas that you have in your hand. And hope a definite no. Now I want you to look at your hand. Don't look at me. Look at your hand only. Don't look at me or the screen. Look at your hand. Now you have to see whether you are able to see me or the screen. A definite no. So when you focus on the problem, now put your hands back to your places, comfortable places. So when you focus on the problem, you lose the goal. And when you focus on the goal, you lose the problem. Isn't that statement right? We'll go to the third slide. Vanishri, go for the third slide. Now we'll look into what goal setting is all about. So generally, most goal setting exercises start with an overpaid consultant by a whiteboard and asking something like this: what does success look like to you? In a very specific terms, what do you want to achieve? If we are serious about achieving our goals, however, we should start with much different question. Rather than considering what kind of success we want, we should ask, what kind of pain do I want? I repeat the question, what kind of pain do I want? The real challenge is not determining if you want the result, but if you are willing to accept the sacrifices required to achieve your goal. Do you want the lifestyle that comes with your quest? Do you want the boring and ugly process that comes before the exciting and glamorous outcome? It is easy to sit around and think what we could do or what we would like to do. It is an entirely different thing to accept the trade-offs that come with our goals. Everybody wants a gold medal, isn't it? But few people want to train like an Olympian. This brings us to the first key insight. Goal setting is not only about choosing the rewards you want to enjoy, but also the cost you're willing to pay. Imagine a small rowboat, which I've given in the picture there. Your goals are like the rudder on the boat. So you could see the rudders there. They set the direction and determine where you go. If you commit to one goal, then the rudder stays and you continue moving forward. But if you flip flop between goals, then the rudder moves all around and it is easy to find yourself rowing in circles. However, there is another part of the boat that is even more important than the rudder, the oars. If the rudder is your goal, then the oars are your process for achieving it. While the rudder determines your direction, it is the oars that determine your progress. Vanishi, can you go for the next slide? Yeah. So this metaphor of the rudder and the oars help you to clarify the difference between systems and goals. It is an important distinction that shows up everywhere in life. Like if you are a coach, what is your goal? It is to win a championship. So your system is what your team does at practice each day. Suppose if you are a writer, your goal is to write a book. Then your system is the writing schedule that you follow each week. And if you are a runner, your goal is to run a marathon. Your system is your training schedule for the month. And if you are an entrepreneur, your goal is to build $1 million business. Your system is your sales and marketing process. So goals are useful for setting the direction. Systems are great for actually making progress. In fact, the primary benefit of having a goal is that it tells you what sort of system you need to put in place. However, the system itself is what actually achieved the results. Now, this brings us to the second key insight. So, goals determine your direction, systems determine your progress. You will never get anywhere just by holding the rudder. You have to row. And to go into the next slide, how we have to set the goals. So we have discussed about the trade-offs and the systems that come with the goals. Now let's talk about how to set goals you'll actually follow. So there are three basic strategies which I would be discussing with you today. And I like to use when what goal setting is about. And the first point that I pick is ruthlessly eliminate your goals. I'll tell you why. Psychologists have a concept they refer to as goal competition. Now, what is this goal competition like? Goal competition says that one of the greatest barriers to achieve your goal is that other goals hinder what in your way. In other words, your goals are competing with one another for your time and attention. So whenever you chase a new goal, you have to pull focus and energy from your other pursuits. And this is basically the four burner theory in action. Four burner theory. When you turn one burner up, you have to turn the others down. Now there is a good news. One of the fastest ways to make progress on your goals is to simply press pause on less important things and focus on one goal at a time. Sometimes you just need to reorganize your priorities a little bit, and suddenly progress comes much more quickly because you are now fully committed to a goal that was only getting moderate attention previously. So, this is an important insight. Typically, when we fail to reach our goals, we think something was wrong with our goal or our approach. But you know what experts tell us? You need to think bigger. Pick a dream that is so big it will motivate you every day. Or we tell ourselves, if only I had more hours in the day. And all these excuses cloud the bigger issue. What often looks like a problem of goal setting is actually a problem of goal selection. It is not the problem of goal setting, it is the problem of goal selection. What we really need is not bigger goals, but better focus. You need to choose one thing and ruthlessly eliminate everything else. In the words of Seth Godin, you don't need more time, you just need to decide. I really love this line. You don't need more time, you just need to decide. So our lives are like rose bushes. So every one of us love roses, isn't it? As a rose bush grows, it creates more buds than it can sustain. If you talk to an experienced gardener, they will tell you that rose bushes need to be pruned to bring out the best in both their appearance as well as their performance. In other words, if you want a rose bush to thrive, then you need to cut away some of the good buds so the great ones can fully blossom. Our goals are almost similar. They need to be consistently pruned and trimmed down, and it's natural for new goals to come into our lives, and sometimes we get excited about new opportunities, just like it's natural for a rose bush to add new buds. If we can muster the courage to prune away a few of our goals, then we create the space we need for the remaining goals to fully blossom. Full growth and optimal living requires pruning. So we have to ruthlessly eliminate the goals. And here I go with the method of doing this. Vanishi, go for the next slide. So this is called as the Ivy Lee method. And we have the photograph of that man, Ivy Lee. And he's a daily routine expert recommended from peak productivity. So Charles M. Schwab, by 1918, he was one of the richest men in the world. Schwab was the president of Bethlehem Steel Corporation, the largest shipbuilder and the second largest steel producer in America at the time. The famous inventor Thomas Edison once referred to Schwab as the master hustler. He was constantly seeking an edge over the competition. One day, way back in 1918, in his quest to increase the efficiency of his team and to discover better ways to get things done, you know what Schwab did? He arranged a meeting with a highly respected productivity consultant named Ivy Lee. And at that time, Lee was a successful businessman in his own right and is widely remembered as a pioneer in the field of public relations. And as the story goes, Schwab brought Lee into his office and said, "Show me a great way to get more things done." And you know what Lee replied? "Give me 15 minutes with each of your executives." And as Schwab was a businessman, he asked, "How much will it cost me?" And Lee said, "Nothing unless it works. After 3 months, you can send me a check for whatever you feel it's worth to you." And this is what Lee has done with every executive. During his 15 minutes with each executive, Ivy Lee explained his simple daily routine for achieving peak productivity, which we also can follow. The first point was at the end of each workday, write down the six most important things you need to accomplish tomorrow. And now, do not write down more than six tasks. Second point was prioritize those six items in order of their true importance. So you wrote the six ones and then you have to prioritize them. And the third point was when you arrive tomorrow, concentrate only on the first task, work until the first task is finished before moving on to the second tasks. And the fourth point, what he said was approach the rest of your list in the same fashion. At the end of the day, move any unfinished items to a new list of six tasks for the following day. And the last point was repeat this process every working day. This strategy sounded simple, but Squab and his executive team at Bethlehem Steel gave it a try. And you know what happened after 3 months? Squab was so delighted with the progress his company had made that he called Lee into his office and wrote him a check of $25,000. And you know, a 25,000 check written in 1918 is somewhere equivalent to $4 lakh check in now. So this Ivy Lee method of prioritizing your to-do list seems stupidly simple, but how could something this simple be worth so much? And what makes it so effective? So I'll talk about how it has become so effective. It is simple enough to actually work, isn't it? The primary critic of methods like this one is that these are too basic. They don't count for all the complexities and nuances of life. What happens if an emergency pops up? What about using the latest technology to our fullest advantage? In my experience, complexity is often a weakness because it makes it harder to get back on track. Yes, emergencies and unexpected distractions will arise. Ignore them as much as possible. Deal with them when you must and get back to your prioritized to-do list as soon as possible. Use simple rules to guide complex behavior. And the next thing, what it makes us easier is it forces you to make tough decisions. And we all must believe that there is nothing magical about least number of six important tasks per day. It could just as easily be 5 tasks per day. However, I do think there is something magical about imposing limits upon ourselves. I find that the single best thing to do when you have too many ideas or when you are overwhelmed by everything you need to get done is to prune your ideas and trim away everything that isn't absolutely necessary. Constraints can make you better. And Lee's method is almost similar to Warren Buffett's 25-5 formula, which I would be discussing next, which requires you to focus excuse me, on just 5 critical tasks and ignore everything else. Basically, if you commit to nothing, you'll be distracted to everything. Now we'll discuss about what Warren Buffett's 20 stock rule is about. And Vanishi, go for the next slide, ma. When Warren lectures at a business schools, he says, I could improve your ultimate financial welfare by giving you a ticket with only 20 slots in it so that you had 20 punches, representing all the investments that you got to make in a lifetime. And once you had punched through the card, you could make any more investments at all. He says, under those rules, you would really think carefully about what you did and you would be forced to load upon what you would really thought about. So you would do so much better. Again, this is a concept that seems perfectly obvious to me. And to Warren, it seems perfectly obvious. But this is one of the very few business classes in the US where anybody will be saying so. It just isn't that conventional wisdom. It's obvious that the winner has to bet very selectively. It's been obvious since very early in life for many of them. And I don't know why it is not obvious to many other people. So here Warren Buffett's 20 slot rule isn't just useful for financial investments, it's a sound approach for time investment. He has an idea of forcing yourself to load up and go on in all an investment. Here the key point is your odds of success improve when you're forced to direct all of your energy and attention to fewer tasks. Like, if you want to master a skill, truly master it, you have to be selective with your time. You have to ruthlessly trim away good ideas to make room for great ones. You have to focus on few essential tasks and ignore the distractions. And you have to commit to working through 10 hours or 10 years of silence. So, this is what Ivy or Ivy Lee method is, or Warren Buffett's 20 slot rule. Vanishti, can you go for the next slide? We have to stack our goals. And research has shown that you are 2x to 3x more likely to stick to your goals if you make a specific plan for when, where, and how you will perform the behavior. For example, in one study, scientists asked people to fill out this sentence: during the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous training. And from when? I have mentioned today, from Friday, and at what time it is, and at what place or in which place it would be like. So, this is the sentence which everyone has to fill. During the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise, and you have to be specific on what day it is, and at what time, and at what place. And researchers found that people who filled out this sentence were 2x to 3x more likely to actually exercise compared to a control group who did not make plans for the future behavior. And psychologists call these specific plans implementation intentions. So it's called as implementation intentions because they state when, where, and how you intend to implement a particular behavior. This finding has been repeated across hundreds of studies and has been found to increase the odds that people will start exercising, begin recycling, stick with studying, and even stop smoking. One of my favorite ways to utilize these findings is with a strategy which is called as habit stacking. So it's like habit stacking is just like filling out this sentence. So after and before, what is the current habit and what will be the new habit? Now here few examples which I make. So if you want to make with meditation. So I start like this. After I brew my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Or if I want to make some push-ups. Before I take my morning shower, I will do 10 push-ups. Or something like flossing. After I set my toothbrush down, I will floss my teeth. Or something like gratitude. Before I eat dinner, I will say one thing I'm grateful for that day. Or something like networking. After I return from my lunch break, I will send at least one email to someone I want to meet. So we have made before and after. So what is the current habit? What is the next habit that we have to do? So habit stacking words well because you do not only create a specific plan for when and where you will implement your goals, but also link your new goals to something you are already doing each day. So this is something helpful to bridge the gap between goals and system. Our goals tell us what we want to achieve, while our system or the process we follow each day. Habit stacking and implementation intentions help us to improve from the goal in our heads to the specific process that will make it as a reality. And to get into the next one, it is setting up an upper bound. Vanishi, can we go for the next slide? Okay. Whenever we set goals, we almost always focus on the lower bound. That is, we think about the minimum threshold we want to hit. The implicit assumption is, hey, if you can do more than the minimum, go for it. Like someone like me might say, I want to lose at least 5 pounds this month. An entrepreneur might say, I want to take at least 10 sale calls today. Or someone like an artist may say, I want to write at least 500 words today. Or a basketball player saying, I want to make at least 50 free throws today. But just think, what would it look like if we added an upper bound to our goals and behaviors? Like, instead of saying, I want to lose at least 5 pounds this month, I can also say, I want to lose at least 5 pounds this month, but not more than 10 pounds. A sales individual or an entrepreneur can say, I want to make at least 10 sales calls today, but not more than 20. I want to write at least 500 words today, but not more than 1500 words. Or a basketball player can just say, I want to make at least 50 free throws today, but not more than 100. You look at how we have set with the upper bound. In many areas of life, there is a magical zone of long term growth. You want to push hard enough to make progress, but not so much that it is unsustainable. This is where setting an upper limit can be useful. Upper limits make it easier for you to sustain your progress and continue showing up. So that's the that you can watch in the slide. This is especially critical in the beginning. Whenever you set a new goal and begin working towards it, the single most important thing is showing up. In the beginning, showing up is even more important than succeeding. Because if you don't build the habit of showing up, then you will never have anything to improve in future. To go on with the next slide, so how should you achieve your goals? Effective goal setting requires consideration of the system that surrounds you. Too often, we set the right goals inside the wrong system. If you are fighting your system each day to make a progress, then it's going to be really hard to make a consistent progress. There are all kinds of hidden forces that make our goals easier or harder to achieve them. You need to align your environment with your ambitions if you wish to make a progress for the long run. And I would be discussing some of the practical strategies here. So, how you have to align your environment with your goals. Almost most of us have the freedom to make a wide range of choices at any given moment. We often make decisions based on the environment we find ourselves in. Many of the decisions we make in our professional as well as in the personal lives are shaped by the options that surround us. For example, if you sleep with your phone next to your bed, the habit most of us have, then checking social media and email as soon as you wake up is likely to be the default decision. Or if you walk into your living room and your couches and chairs all face the television, then watching television is likely to be the default decision. The next one, if you keep alcohol in your kitchen, then drinking consistently is more likely to be the default decision. Of course, defaults can be positive as well. Like, if you keep a dumbbell next to your desk at work, then pumping out some quick curls is more likely to be a default decision. If you keep a water bottle with you throughout the day, then drinking water rather than soda is more likely to be a default decision. Or if you place floss in a visible location, like next to your toothbrush, then flossing is more likely to be the default decision. Whether or not you achieve your goals in the long term has a lot to do with what types of influences surround you in the short term. It's very hard to stick with positive habits in a negative environment. So the few strategies that I would suggest for you is, first one is simplicity. Generally, it's very hard to focus on the signal when you're constantly surrounded by noise. It is more difficult to eat healthy when your kitchen is filled with junk food. It is more difficult to focus on reading a blog post when you have 10 tabs open in your browser. And it is more difficult to accomplish your most important task when you fall into the myth of multitasking. So, what you have to do is, when in doubt, eliminate options. And the second method that I would suggest is visual cues. So, in the supermarket, placing items on the shelves at eye level makes them more visual and more likely to be purchased, isn't it? So, whenever we visit a supermarket, we buy more than what we need. Outside of the supermarket, you can use visual cues like the paperclip method or the scene field strategy, which I would be discussing in the session at the end, to create an environment that visually nudges your actions in the right directions. Or the third one, which you can use, is opt out versus opt in. So, there is a famous organ donation study that revealed how multiple European countries skyrocketed their organ donation rates. They required citizens to opt out of donating rather than opt in to donating. You can do something similar in your life by opting your future self into better habits ahead of time. For example, you could schedule your yoga session for next week while you're feeling motivated today. When your workout rolls around, you have to justify opting out rather than motivating yourself to opt in. So, with these three suggestions that I have given to make with better things, now the next one comes with how to measure your goals. So, goals should be measurable, isn't it? Another key to make long term progress in your goals is measurement. The human mind loves to receive feedback. One of the most motivating things that we can experience is evidence of our progress. This is why measurement is so critical for effective goal setting. It's like if you measure your results, you get an insight on whether or not you are making a progress. The things we measure are the things we improve. It is only through numbers and clear tracking that we have an idea if we are getting better or worse. So, a few examples which I have picked is when I measured how many push ups I did, I got stronger. And when I tracked my reading habit of 20 pages per day, I read more books. And when I recorded my values, I began living with more integrity. So, this is how I measured. The trick is to realize that counting, measuring, and tracking is not about the result. Measure to discover, to find out, to understand. Measure to see if you are showing up. Measure to see if you are actually just spending time on the things that are important to you. And some of the important techniques for setting a measurable goal paperclip strategy, an important strategy which we can use. So this strategy actually began with Dyer Smith. So Dyer Smith began each morning with two jars on his desk. One was filled with 120 paper clips, the other one was an empty one. As soon as he settled in each day, he would make sales calls. Immediately after, he would move one paperclip from the full jar to the empty jar, and the process would begin again. So every morning, what he did was he would start with 120 paperclips in one jar, and he would keep dialing the phone until he had removed them all to the second jar. You know what happened? Within 18 months, Dyer Smith was bringing in $5 million to the firm, and by the age of 24, he was making $75,000 per year, the equivalent of $125,000 now. Not long after, he landed a six-figure job with another company. So, this paperclip strategy works particularly well because it creates a visual trigger that can help us motivate to perform a habit, and that to a habit with more consistency. And many of them, which are who were doing with this, like they made it with different options. So it seems one woman shifted a hairpin from one container to another whenever she wrote a page of her book, or another man moved a marble from one bin to the next after he set up with push ups. So it's left to us. Making progress is satisfying, and visual measures like moving paper clips or hairpins or marbles provide clear evidence of your progress. As a result, they reinforce your behavior and add a little bit of your immediate satisfaction to any activity. And what are the benefits or the reasons what these visual cues work well for building a new good habit is? So it reminds us to start a behavior. Like we often lie to ourselves about our ability to remember to perform a new habit. So we usually, as the new year is approaching, we all have a resolution like, I'm going to start eating healthier for real this time. This year, I'm going to do this. A few days later, however, the motivation fades and the busyness of life begins to take over again. Hoping you will simply remember to do a new habit is usually a recipe of failure. This is why a visual stimulus, like a bin full of paper clips, can be so useful. It is much easier to stick with good habits when your environment nudges you in the right direction. And the another benefit of this visual cue is you could see your progress. It mounts, it is natural to become more motivated to continue the habit. And the more paper clips you place in the bin, the more motivated you will become to finish the task. There is a variety of popular behavioral economic studies that refer to this as end-on progress effect. It's a technical term, and this essentially says that we place more value on things once we have completed them. In other words, the paper clips you move to the completed bin, the more valuable completing the habit becomes to you. So you can create your own paperclip strategy. Like I give you few examples. So hoping to do 100 push-ups each day, then start with 10 paper clips and move one over each time, and you drop down and do a set of 10 throughout the day. So this is one way. Or you need to send 25 emails every day. What you can do is start with 25 paper clips and toss one to the other side each time you press send. Or something easier, want to drink 8 glasses of water each day? Start with 8 paper clips and slide over each one at a time as soon as you finish a glass of water. And sometimes, no, if you're not sure of taking your medication 3 times per day, set 3 paper clips out and flip one into the bin each time you swallow your pills. Best of all, this strategy would cost you very less. The next one is measure backward, not forward. So we often measure progress by looking forward, isn't it? We set goals, we plan milestones for our progress. Basically, we try to predict the future to some degree. And we do this in business, in health, and in life at large. Can we increase our quarterly earnings by 20%? Can we lose 20 kgs in the next 3 months? Or for those who are unmarried, will I be married by 30? These are all measurements that face forward. We look into the future and try to guess when we will get somewhere. There is an opposite and I think more useful approach: measure backward, not forward. And here's what I mean. When it comes to building good habits and breaking bad habits, one of our greatest struggle is maintaining awareness of what we are actually doing. The more automatic a behavior becomes, the less likely we are to notice it. This helps to explain how the consequences of bad habits can sneak upon us. By the time the repercussions of our actions are noticeable, we have already become hooked on a new pattern behavior. However, measuring backward can call attention to these invisible patterns by making you aware of what you are actually doing. Measuring backward forces you to take notice of your recent actions. You can't live in a fairy tale world of hopes and dreams. You have to look at the feedback of what has recently happened in your life and then base your decisions and improvements on those pieces of data. And the good news is that you can now base your decisions of what you are actually doing, not of what your project or your future self to be doing. So there you get, when you measure backward, your data needs to come from the recent part. So it's like measuring happiness. There is an additional benefit to this strategy as well. When you measure backward, you get to enjoy the progress you are making right now rather than earn for a different life in the future. You don't have to put happiness off until you reach a future milestone or goal. Happiness is no longer a finish line, there is in the future. Focusing on how you can immediately improve over your past self is more satisfying than comparing your current state to where you hope you'll be someday. So, nearly every improvement we wish to make in our lives requires some type of behavior change. If you want different results, you have to do something differently. Now, the tough question is to answer: what should we do differently to get the result we want? So, what we do is we often respond by focusing on an outcome and setting a goal for ourselves. Goals are good, and having a sense of direction from where you want to go is critical. But when it comes to determining the improvements we can make right now, Measuring backwards is the way to go. Like I give you examples. Now, someone is on the weight loss. Measure your calorie intake. Did you eat 3,500 calories per day last week? Or focus on and averaging 3,400 per day this week? So you're questioning yourself what you have done. Or something related to relationships. How many new people did you meet last week? And if the answer is zero, focus on introducing yourself to one new person this week. So measure backward and then get a little bit better. What you did last week, how can you improve by just a little bit this week? So this is one strategy. And the next strategy which I'm discussing is the scene field strategy. And scene field is one of, no, you can go to the earlier slide, Vanish. Seinfeld is one of the most successful comedians of all the time, and hope many of you know him. He is regarded as one of the top 100 comedians of all time by Comedy Central. He is also the co creator and co writer of Seinfeld, the long running sitcom which has received numerous awards and was claimed to have the top TV episode of all time as rated by TV Guide. And according to Forbes magazine, Seinfeld reached his peak in earnings when he made $267 million in 1998. By almost any measure of wealth, popularity, and critical acclaim, Jerry Seinfeld is among the most successful comedians, writers, and actors of his generation. However, what is most impressive about Seinfeld's career isn't the awards, the earnings, or the special moments. It is the remarkable consistency of it all. Show after show, year after year, he performs, creates, and entertains at an incredibly high standard. Jerry Seinfeld produces with a level of consistency that most of us wish we could bring to our daily life. Now compare his results to where you and I often find ourselves. We want to create, but struggle to do so. We want to exercise, but fail to find motivation. Wanting to achieve our goals, but for some reason or another, we still procrastinate to them. Now, what's the difference? What strategies does Jerry Seinfeld use to beat procrastination and consistently produce quality work? What does he do each day that most people don't? So here the Seinfeld strategy is what I'm discussing to you now. Brad Isaac was a young comedian starting out of the comedy circuit, and one fateful night he found himself in a club where Jerry Seinfeld was performing. So he had an interview on Life Hacker. Isaac shared what happened when he caught Seinfeld backstage and asked if he had any tips for a young comic. And here's what Seinfeld said. He said the way to be a better comic was to create better jokes, and the way to create better jokes was to write every day. He told me to get a big wall calendar that has the whole year on one page and hang it on a prominent wall. The next step was to get a big red magic marker. He said for each day that I do my task of writing, I get to put a big red X over that day. After a few days, you'll have a chain. Just keep it at it, and the chain will grow longer every day. You will like seeing the chain, especially when you got a few weeks under your belt. Your only job is to not break the chain. So this is a chain method, and it has given a lot of results for many. It didn't matter if he was motivated or not. It didn't matter if he was writing great jokes or not. It didn't matter if he was working on or would ever make it on the show. All that mattered was for Sinfield not breaking the chain. And that is one of the simplest secrets behind this man. It was a remarkable productivity and consistency. For years, the comedian simply focused on not breaking the chain. So, the first thing what we have to do is to stop procrastinating. Top performers in every field, it might be athletes, musicians, CEOs, artists, they are all more consistent than their peers. They show up and deliver day after day while everyone else gets bogged down with the urgencies of daily life and fights a constant battle between procrastination and motivation. While most people get demotivated and off track after a bad performance, a bad workout, or simply a bad day at work, top performers, they settle right back into their pattern the next day. So the seeing field strategy works because it helps to take the focus off of each individual performance and puts the emphasis on the process instead. It is not about how you feel, how inspired you are, or how brilliant your work is that day. Instead, it's just about not breaking the chain. So, here I have to warn you, you have to pick a task that is more meaningful to make a difference, but not simple enough that you can get it done. So, you have to set your bounds up. And it would be wonderful if you could write 10 pages a day for your book, but that's not a sustainable chain to build. Similarly, it sounds great in theory to be able to deadlift like a maniac every day, but in practice, you'll probably be overtrained and burnt out. So, step one is to choose a task that is simple enough to be sustainable. At the same time, you have to make sure that your actions are meaningful enough to matter. I give you a few examples here. You can research on good jokes each day is simple, but you are never going to write a joke by merely researching. That's why the process of writing is a better choice. Writing can actually produce a meaningful result, even when it's done in small doses. Similarly, doing 10 push ups per day can be simple and meaningful, depending on your level of fitness. But it will actually make you stronger. Meanwhile, just reading a fitness book each day is simple, but it won't actually get you into better shape. So you have to choose tasks that are simple to maintain and capable of producing the outcome you want. So another way of saying this is focus on actions and not on motions. So we have to master with the consistency part. No matter what topic we are talking about, we all require consistency. That's the important aspect which I would like to touch. No matter what your definition is of a healthy life, you will have to battle procrastination to make it a reality. Hopeful that Sinfield strategy helps to put that battle in perspective because many of us are in the habit of procrastinating. Don't break the chain on your workouts, and you'll find that you get fit rather quickly. Don't break the chain in your business, and you'll find the results come much faster. So, often we assume that excellence requires a monumental effort and that our lofty goals demand incredible doses of willpower and motivation. But really, all we need is dedication to manageable tasks, and mastery follows consistency. And to conclude with the next slide, Vanishri, nothing is impossible. You cannot reach your destination without knowing where to go. You cannot play football without a goal post. So, no goal means no direction. A ship without a rattle, where does it go? Nowhere. An envelope without address, where does it go? Nowhere. And you without a goal, where do you go? Nowhere. So you have to have a defined goals. Do you all know that how many times the building you are in is constructed? Is it once or twice? So, the building you are living in, the building where you are sitting, do you all know that how many times it is constructed? Once or twice? And many of you would say it is once. And the answer is no. It is two times. Shocked? Yes. Every building is made twice. Every flyover is made twice. Every bridge is constructed twice. Even the Malaysian Twin Towers was constructed twice. Burj Khalifa was constructed twice. India Gate was constructed twice. And the Taj Mahal is constructed twice. Shocked? Yes, you have heard it right. And once on paper and then outside. Now, make your goal on paper and then outside. And the last slide, change. Does this word scare or inspire you? Change is evidence of life. It is possible to grow without, it is impossible to grow without change. Those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. The truth is, life is always at some turning point. As Herbert Spencer said, a living thing is distinguished from a dead thing by the multiplicity of changes at any moment taking place in it. Remember, yesterday's formula for success is often tomorrow's recipe for failure. The man who uses yesterday's method in today's world probably won't be in the business tomorrow. Consider what Thomas Watson, the founder of IBM Corporation, said. There is a world market for about 5 computers. Now, where would IBM be today if Mr. Watson had not been willing to change? Remember, you cannot become what you are destined to be by remaining what you are. As John Patterson said, only fools and dead men don't change their minds. Fools won't and dead men can't. So this is about the goal strategy, and I would like Vanishri to play a video, an inspiring one.
Yeah. Going with that, madam. 1 second.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carry on, Vanishri.
Is it able to? Is it audible, ma'am?
Yeah, it's audible, Vanishri. Carry on.
Amenu, Amen. Sri Haman Yase Naved Krada Angene Dhanusa Naved Krada Alam 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 Amenu Amen. Alam 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 Amenu Amen. Vihamar Yase Almadu Batu Disahan Alam 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 Amenu Amen. Vihamar Yase Almadu Batu Disahan Angere Dhanusa Naved Krada
Yes.
Thank you, Vanishri.
Thank you, ma'am. It was
And
such a
thank you all
wonderful
for,
video.
yeah, thank you for the participants also, because on a holiday, staying awake and listening to the session is also something which we have to be grateful like.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Your pristine words are really soothing, like a pastel pink to our mind and heart. The addendums given by you, like setting up an upper band and how to measure our goals, provides us like a benchmark for determining whether we are actually succeeding or not. You made us to know with simple strategies and golden rules which can be used in what way and how we needed to set them with our day to day life with live examples. So these accretions will help us for a happy and successful career. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
And
Yeah, we can go for a question and answer session now.
yeah, participants, you can unmute yourself and you can go with the query session. Aisha Siddiq. Yeah, Miss Aisha Siddiqui, you are unmuted and you can ask. Yeah, Mr. Dr. Joginder Pal.
Uh, uh, Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Should the goals be broken into small parts so that we can, in the form of milestone or gateway, so that we can achieve it
Yes,
because a
sir.
bigger.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have to break into small because we have to go back and see whether we have done that or not. That's the progress which I have mentioned in my session. So that's how we measure the progress that we are doing, so that we reach the bigger one or the long-term goal. So we have a short-term goal and a long-term goal which we have to do. So if at all we have to achieve, we have to break it into smaller ones.
Ma'am, the goal should be measurable and specific and
Yeah.
achievable, and as well as it should be realistic as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, as you said, I have mentioned that in my session. But instead of mentioning it like no, we're using the SMART principle, I have gone in with a detailed principle, means a strategy to get with your goal, making the real life examples like. And it's nice, you have been so active throughout all the sessions.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Hope
much.
I have answered the question that you have, or the statement that you have added to my session.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
good evening, ma'am.
Good evening,
It was
Tripura.
yeah, it was a nice session. I just have a doubt. I don't know whether it speaks about women equality over here, because goals, we too have goals, but after marriage, for some reason we are not able to attain our goals. So do you think that as a women we have to sacrifice our goals, or is there anything else? Because in certain places I've heard the husbands are not so motivated, or they are not giving like equal rights to their wives. So in that case, what do you feel, or can you give a suggestion regarding that, ma'am?
Yeah, I'll give my own example here. I was married when I was doing my degree first year. Okay, and by the time I could finish my degree final year, I had a son, and later I pursued my MA English as well as my MSc Psychology. Went in for my MPhil and PhD, and now I'm into a job. And all this happened just because I was focused. Okay, so in between, I had so many hurdles like coming in my way, and for a married woman, it might be somewhat difficult, but still, no, when you're focused, it happens, Tripura.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Like I don't know, ma'am. I'm not able to generalize because there are few family constraints for few ladies who feel, even in
Okay.
spite of having their goal, they are not able to attain it, and they are sacrificing for the sake of their family. So, as you know, it's traditional or it's a custom that we have to stay or do certain things for our elders,
Yeah.
and in that case, I just want for small clarification from your side, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you were talking about the constraints that you have. It might be in your family or some other family. Now, it's very easy, Tripura, but prior at least we had to go out and do some work. Now we have a lot of online options where you can teach few people with online classes and all that and earn some money and reach your goal. The only thing is you change your strategy. Okay, don't follow the strategy what the others have followed and they were successful with. You can change your strategy, looking for better options of how you can achieve in spite of all the constraints that you have in the family. You, in the sense, it's a general answer that I'm giving, like. Okay,
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
it's
ma'am.
nice,
Mm.
Tripura. Okay.
Ma'am, can you hear me? I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to ask
Jyoti, it's
you.
Jyoti if I'm right.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, what is there? The country like
Jyoti, we are not able to
so
hear you.
many population is more. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There is now there so many engineering people are taken the degrees, but
Okay.
actually the skill oriented people are very less.
Yeah.
At that time, I have observed that they are getting very few, and they do not wanted to their entrepreneurship type job. They
Okay.
want to ready-made jobs. At that time, how the ratio can be balanced one?
Yeah,
Can you tell me,
entrepreneurship
please?
and getting into business is something like no, it should come on their on it should be their own interest. Like we can just create some options for them, but we cannot force them to get into that. It might be the environment where they are brought up like, or it might be the situations that they are facing in their family or whatever it might be. You know, it takes some time for them to get into that, and we can just motivate them. Okay, we can just tell them how people had been going through when they were and how successful they were as an entrepreneur, but we cannot force them to get into. Okay, it takes some time for them to get into that because not many students are interested to get into or becoming an entrepreneur. Maybe our education pattern is also that way, or the environment they were brought up like, or the family support what they have. The reasons might be many.
But madam, what is there? The people they are more educated ones. Sometimes they have made MTech. They have taken the degrees also,
Okay.
very qualified. But they do not have jobs, ma'am.
Yeah, they do
This is
not have
scenario.
because they
Jobs, ma'am,
b-
according to their qualification.
maybe no, they are not good at their skills. Maybe that might be one of the reason because I also work for an engineering college where no only 40 or 50% of students get into their
Huh.
jobs. The other 50% we are not sure with. Few realize after they finish their degree and then get into jobs, and not sure what the other percentage of students are doing with. It's a common problem that is going on with the engineering students.
Okay. Ma'am, one simple question. What are the parameters are required for to get the successful in our life, please? How you
Can you
are
come with your
become?
question?
What
Like,
is the remedy for success?
yeah, the only remedy is to have a focus.
Yeah, that is there.
The only remedy is focus on what you want to achieve. So in between, you might have many obstacles, constraints, and all that, but still you should have a strong focus. Maybe for few it might happen in 5 years, for others it may take 10 years, or for few it may take some more time, but still we should not lose the focus.
I have seen that so many people they are having very they do not have internal have their internal strong habit.
Yeah,
What you
internal
tell
motivation.
they are not very strong anymore.
Yeah,
Internal motivation or mentally strong habits.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how to grown up that we have what is our teacher's role responsibility in that one, please?
So, to go with, we have to educate because the motivation happens externally as well as internally. Here, I would like to share with you a small story. There were twins in a family, and one son was doing very good. One of the twin brother was doing very good. He was quite successful, and he had a very good name in the society. Where the other son, no, he was a drunkard. He never took care of his family. He used to beat his wife, and he was not bothering about his children. And when someone asked him why he was doing that, he said he was motivated by his father. Okay, and his father was also a drunk, but he never took care of the children. And when the first one who was successful was asked about the same thing, he said he was motivated by his father and how he thought that he should not be like his father in future. Okay, so motivation happens as they see, or when the faculty who are handling or the teachers who are handling them counsel them or be in touch with them. Apart from the academics, no, we have to be in touch with them, teach life skills for the students, which is not happening in the colleges or schools. Okay, we never teach them life skills. Even in the family, the parents are equally busy, where we do not sit with the children and talk about the life skills. Okay, that is what we have to inculcate, or see that it happens in the families or in the college as well. Hope
Thank
I've
you, ma'am.
answered you, Jyoti.
Yes, yeah, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Madam, this is Dr. Nagendra Kumar.
yeah.
Good evening, madam. First
Good
of all, I have
evening.
to compliment your bass voice, which makes everyone alert and gets them out of sleep.
Oh, thank you.
Your
Maybe that is
bass.
why Vanishri has made it in the afternoon for me.
Yeah, maybe, but it's wonderful. But at the same time, just as a part of my knowledge levels, I
Okay.
want to supplement about goal.
Yeah.
Goal is omnipresent, madam, actually, in fact.
Okay.
The reason is, we generally the people think that goal is a very big thing which we have to plan, we have to do, we have to achieve something like that. But I personally feel goal is everyday within our purview only. Because today I make a goal that I have to attend a seminar, and of course you may not call it as a goal, but my objective I can call it that as
Yeah.
for that time. But it becomes a goal. If I am not able to attend this program today, what the plan or the set of goal what I have made for that day is not achieved.
Yeah.
So what I feel personally is goal is omnipresent, and at the same time it changes from time to time.
Yeah.
It is not that we have a fixed goal that to reach a particular position, something like that. As Dr. Joginder Saab told, we have to make it to pieces. I mean,
Yeah,
segregate into
small.
different stages.
Mm-mm.
This is what just I want to supplement.
Yeah,
I
thank you,
want to
Dr.
share.
Nagendra, for adding your valuable suggestion or point for this goal setting, because it's a part of learning. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Ma'am, I think its time is running out.
Yeah,
So shall we end the session with
yeah,
this?
sure, Vanishri, and thank you all once again.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for guiding us on how goal setting is a powerful process for thinking about our ideal future and motivating ourselves, and setting a target or objective which we wish to achieve and turn our vision of our future into reality. It was such a stimulating and fascinating session. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, one and all.
I also extend my unfeigned thanks to Dr. U. Tene sir, RT, Ramakrishna Vivekananda College, Chennai, Dr. Joginder sir, Dr. Nagendra Kumar sir, and Dr. B. Usha, Professor and HOD, former Dean of Vedic University, and as well as to my principal, Dr. T. Kalpalata Reddy, for their extensive and anonymous support. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, one and all. Happy
And
Christmas and advanced Happy New Year wishes to everyone.
thank you, ma'am. Participants' feedback link is posted in the chat box. I request all the participants to please fill the feedback form. And I remind you that tomorrow we are going to have a session by Dr. B. Siddhartha Kumar, Professor of Medicine from SWIMS, Tirupati. He is going to deliberate on the topic intangible intuition, that is on spiritual intelligence. And also in the afternoon session, we are going to have a session on the topic surmounting strain and sentiment, that is coping stress and emotions, by Professor T. Ravichandran Sir, Professor, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Kanpur. I repeat again, tomorrow morning we are going to have a session by Dr. B. Siddhartha Kumar, Professor of Medicine from SWIMS, Tirupati. He is going to deliberate on the topic intangible intuition, that is on spiritual intelligence. And in the afternoon session, we are going to have by Professor T. Ravichandran Sir, Professor, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences from IIT Kanpur. He is going to deliberate on the topic surmounting strain and sentiment, that is coping with stress and emotions. I request all the participants to please fill the feedback form, and feedback link is also posted in the WhatsApp group. Those who fill the feedback form, that you can leave the session. And one announcement to all the participants that tomorrow will be the last day, and I request any 3 or 5 participants to give their valuable feedback for improvements and developments. And tomorrow there will, in the afternoon, like after the session, there will be an overall assessment and feedback will be there. So it is mandatory that every participant should attend that overall feedback and assessment exam to get the certificate. The overall feedback and assessment exam will have a 25 multiple choice questions, same like as in phase 1 and phase 2. And I request all the participants tomorrow in the afternoon, it will be posted after the session in the chat box and as well as in the WhatsApp group. So I request all the participants to please fill the overall feedback form tomorrow, which is mandatory to get the certificate of 1 week STTP program.